Welcome to the EXCELcast. I'm Jonathan Kusinski from the EXCEL program here at the University of Michigan, and today I'm talking with Sas Goldberg and Jake Wilson.
Hi there.
Two alums from the School of Music, Theater, and Dance, musical theater for Jake and theater for Sas, both in 2007.
Yeah.
What?
It's great to have you both back on campus.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk today about sort of your story and specifically sort of what it takes, at least from your experience, to go from student life to professional life, particularly in theater, but in acting, producing, and writing, which you both do. And also, Jake, you're a director as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go back in time for a moment.
A lot to go back in.
Okay, so what happened when you graduated? When did you go to New York? What was the story? How did you get sort of started after you graduated?
Sure, we have like a little bit of different trajectories. I am from Manhattan, born and bred.
Okay.
So after I graduated, I went back home to New York City, and I was fortunate enough at the time to already have an agent that I had from high school.
I see.
But don't let that discourage you. So I had an agent, and I think my technique, honestly, was waiting for my agent to call me with auditions. And sometimes they would, and they would trickle in. Sometimes I had 2 a week, and sometimes there would be weeks where I had nothing. And sometimes I'd book it. More often than not, I wouldn't book it. And that was my technique for almost 4 years. So not a great technique listening at home.
Wasn't the greatest.
No.
And my story was a little different. I moved to New York, having lived in Pittsburgh growing up,
Okay.
and wanted to be musical theater all the time. Like I wanted to be that, 97th replacement in Wicked on number 10 in the dark, like over there, and was auditioning for a lot of things, getting close to a lot, but not really landing anything. And I don't really do well with being bored, so I was just kind of like, this isn't creatively fulfilling. I want to do something else. And so at the time, this was 2007, I started a web series that was called The Battery's Down, which at that time, like, nobody really was doing that yet. Now, like, everybody has their web series about being an actor. But back then, like, it was kind of cutting edge or whatever. Ugh,
Yeah,
I hate saying that.
Totally cutting edge.
But it was cool because, it was like I played myself, and it was like very in on the joke. We had Broadway composers that would write songs, and we would have Broadway guest stars. And at that time, I had nothing to lose. I was 22, so I would just go and ask Allison Janney and ask Kristen Chenoweth, and I had nothing to lose if they said no because they didn't know who I was. So that was kind of the first thing that really showed me what I actually wanted to do, was that, like creating, directing, producing, doing all of that at once, even though I didn't really realize that's what I was doing. My friends would come to me and be like, you should be a producer. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do that. And they're like, well, you've been doing it for 2 years, whether you know it or not. And I was like, oh, okay. So that kind of was really cool because that showed me that you can be in charge of your career. You don't have to sit and wait by the phone like other people did. And Sas was in the second season of that too. And we met freshman year. Actually, we literally just took a picture at Theta Chi because I was in a frat back in the day. And we met at a Pimps and Hoes party, and we literally just recreated the moment. But since that moment, we've been like, we had this connection, and we really make each other laugh. So cut to after The Battery's Down. My friends were like, you should be producing. I started producing a lot of unscripted and reality stuff, and kind of working my way up in that world, even though like I have no interest in that world. I don't even watch reality TV. So after a few years of that, I kind of quit, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And I had an idea to write a movie, which I wanted her to star in. And so I went to Sas, and I was like, would you want to write this with me?
And so we both were like, we had never written a movie before. We had never taken, honestly, a screenwriting class. We both liked writing creatively. I took a lot of classes at Michigan, actually, in the creative writing courses, but I had no experience. I'm not going to lie and say I knew how to do this. And we kind of taught each other as we did it. And I think because we were I think our naivety worked in our advantage because we didn't know any better to be like, we can't do this. And how are we going to raise the money? We kind of were just like, oh yeah, we'll raise the money and we'll write it. And honestly, we wrote a movie within 6 months. And we would, have 3 different writing dates. We'd meet, hold each other accountable. And we kind of came up with our writing style. And, for us, I've never really written with somebody else, but we work really well together. There's not a lot of ego, and we could say quickly, like, that's not a good joke, that scene doesn't work, oh, this needs work. There's no offense taken. So it's easy to work through that process because nothing's personal. And we raised the money all ourselves. And we raised it the way that we know from the theater world, which, all you do at Michigan, too. We'd have readings. We'd have stools set up, and we'd invite people to come, and we'd kind of make our case of why they should donate or invest in the film. And we raised all the money ourselves within 6 months, and cut to June of 2013, we shot for 15 days in New York City and Scarsdale.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the start of like our professional working relationship.
Yeah, and kind of the impetus to make the movie was, you know, even though I did the battery sound and I was really proud of it and I thought it was really cool, I didn't know anything about production and like what a DP was and what, you know, a nice camera meant and sound. Like we didn't have microphones. Like so
DP is director of photography.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, so I didn't know any of this. So like, even though I was really proud of the content and like what I was able to do and the guest stars that I was able to get and stuff like that, still if I was walking into like a big Hollywood meeting or something, I wouldn't want to show them that because the quality was so bad. So like, we made the movie so that we had a calling card so that we could show like, this is what we're capable of doing on a really small budget, but like imagine what we could do, you know?
Yeah.
So that movie was kind of like, we're really proud of this. It looks great. It sounds great. The quality is great. You might not like it, you know, but this is what we want to put forward as our like first little baby.
Yeah.
And if you see a lot of independent or like really SAG, ultra low budget films, now we watch a lot of them, but you'll see there's like 5 characters, or there's maybe 4 locations, or it all takes place within a home on Thanksgiving, something like that. And we had no idea to do that. So when we wrote the movie, we wrote truly 57 speaking roles, 38 locations. We wrote like as if we were like on Warner Brothers, with the Warner Brothers money, kind of like spending the dough.
Yeah.
And once we built our schedule, we realized, oh, well, you can't really have that many people speak with this budget, but we made it happen. So the idea is that like, don't let anybody truly tell you no, because I think, you know, when I graduated Michigan, my idea at that point was to become what I would call like an actor for hire, meaning a director or a writer.
A director.
Or a director.
Only directors.
A director, I'm not director. A director or a writer would hire me or hire Jake to be in their play or their film or their TV show. And that idea of director for hire is, actor for hire is kind of becoming obsolete. You know, why they would rather somebody who can create it by themselves or do it their own way or can help you write it or can hop behind the camera. It just makes you much more valuable, which makes sense when you think about it.
Right.
Unless you are truly like the most gorgeous hunk of all time or a total ingenue, which was not, definitely Jake, but which not my case. So I had to create, I realized I had to create it for myself.
But that also, like, I mean, that was all the shows that we liked and watched, you know, like after we did the movie, we kind of, this is another insider tip, we literally we bought an IMDb Pro password so that you can go on, IMDb is, if you don't know, imdb.com, it shows you like, if you look up who's
Internet Movie Database.
Yeah, if you look up, oh, who was that guy who was the boyfriend to Hannah on Girls? You can go there and it'll show you every actor, every producer, every writer, everything. So we did that and we found the agents and the managers of all the people's careers that we wanted to emulate. You know, if you think about Tina Fey, Lena Dunham, Mindy Kaling, Amy Poehler, all of these people are writing and creating their own material. They're not just actors for hire, you know, and that's who we wanted to be. So we kind of like looked at who they were repped by and literally sent out our movie. And, you know, and by the grace of God and whatever, you know, other people sending connections and, you know, XYZ. Again, like it is all about, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but just in general, I think that it's twofold if you want to like succeed. You need to make your own material because first of all, even if people do give you things, it's most likely not going to really showcase what you do best. So to showcase what you do best and to be able to tell people, you know, if you're sitting around being like, I don't have an agent or I don't have this and blah, 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 it's like, well, do something about it. Make something that you can show this is what I do and do it. And then the other half of it is being likable and like getting people to like you. Like everybody's talented, you know what I mean? It's 15% about what your script is or how good you are, XYZ. It is so much about who you know and who can get you in that room to meet with Steven Spielberg's assistant. That can, you know, and it's not a networking thing, even though like it is, but like I hate that word networking because it's so like fake, you know? It's just literally like about like the Michigan Mafia, like literally start there about people wanting to help you out. Like the minute that we sit down at any meeting, we say we met at Michigan and it's like, you play, you know, Jewish geography and like Michigan, like who knows who, like for the first 10 minutes.
But I play Jewish geography.
Yeah, but I basically am. So,
I think a big part about it is kind of you leave this school with so many tools that I don't think I realized until 4 years out, and I was like, oh wow, there are so many people who went here and want to help Wolverines. Like I've never seen another school that has that sort of networking ability. And for me, I graduated here and I have my writing and business partner. I met my husband here. Our manager went to Michigan, and this was all this all kind of came together, but I think it speaks volumes to this school. So I always say, like, you know, when you're talking to students who are in the program now, like, look at the people next to you and create something with them. Because, and you also like do not want to burn bridges. It's a very small world, like when you start seeing it, and being somebody, as Jake was saying, being somebody likable and being somebody that's easy to work work with. That's like so paramount to any of this. Because at the end of the day, people want to have a good time on set, or people want to have a good time in rehearsal. So you being enjoyable is a big part of that.
Yeah.
That's great advice. So a couple of things that I think are really clear takeaways already. One is owning the skills that you have, because I do think with titles in any performing arts discipline, we come in to certain tracks. So you might come in as a performance student, right, or in some places an acting student, and so you kind of define yourself in that role. But the reality is that you bring all, as you're talking about your experience at Michigan, but also getting out in the world and doing work, you bring all these other skills that you can then apply. And so part of carving out your own spaces is understanding and owning the roles that you play, whether or not you realize you are playing them, right?
Yeah.
And that creates then more opportunities for you, because as owning that role, you're maybe thinking a little bit differently about your responsibilities and the things that you can bring to that production or the project. The other thing you've talked about, of course, is networking, and I like to think of that as sort of just the way you described it, right? Authentically building a community around what you do,
Totally.
finding your circle, the people that you really care about and connect with. Because honestly, if you're doing this work, why wouldn't you want to do it with those people?
Exactly.
Life's too short, right? So I'm so glad you brought that up. One of the pieces that's really interesting is you make the whole process sound so joyful, which is great. And I'm sure there are moments of great triumph and feelings of great success. In the film you're talking about, Are You Joking? Correct, right?
Yeah.
Had its debut at Seattle International
It
Film
did.
Festival. That must have been
Oh my God, you really know your stuff.
that must have been exciting.
It was really
It
cool.
was exciting,
Yeah.
yes. It was really, it
Yeah.
was a fun weekend.
So, two quick things. I'm curious. So, what happens? Okay, so you get your film. You've gone through this whole couple of years, probably, right?
Yeah.
Of writing, getting it off the ground, figuring, actually making the film, and then it has its premiere. What
Yeah.
happens after that?
Oh, well, that's a really good feeling. I think we were under the impression every time that we think we know what's going to happen, would you say that that's never
Yeah.
been what happened? So we premiered the film, and I think we both thought we'd walk out and truly paparazzi would be waiting outside of the film, and the movie would be a smash success in every movie theater. Cut to, we didn't get distribution.
Well, first, rewind though. So,
Yeah.
the one thing that you do need, which we didn't know, but we had it at the time because people had told us, you needed something that's called a sales agent for your movie. So think of it as like if you're an actor, you have an agent, a theatrical agent. If you're a movie, you have to have a sales agent. So somebody is literally getting
Repping
those
the movie.
buyers into the screenings. They're inviting people to Seattle, to South by Southwest, to wherever. They have the relationships with the festivals that maybe they can help you get into a festival, because they can be like, oh, hey, Rob, you're the director of Sundance. You should maybe take a look at this one, and maybe it won't get into Sundance or whatever. But
We did not get
Yeah,
into
we did not get
Sundance.
into Sundance. But so then their job is basically to find a distributor who will then figure out a way to get the movie out to people.
So we got a distributor. We got it pretty much, I would say, almost like a year after our movie.
No, we had the distributor going into the festival, but we got distribution about 6 months after we premiered.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Okay, so
We had a sales agent. We didn't have a distributor. What are you talking
A
about?
sales agent. That's what I'm saying.
You just said we had a distributor.
I'm
when
sorry.
We, went to the
We
movie.
had a sales agent going into the festival. Okay, it was called Preferred Content. We then, after the movie premiered, we had some screenings in LA, some screenings in New York, where we invited these buyers. Our sales agent invited them. Somebody bit Ketchup Entertainment and New Wave Entertainment did kind of a co-thing, and they co-released it. It took like a year, basically from the premiere to the release. We've seen the movie 79,000 times. I could shout it off to you, because also I was in the edit every day. And we're both in it. It's just you become. I haven't watched it in so long.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that answered your question. But basically, you need to get a sales agent if you're going to have a movie or something, so that it can become released. But more and more people are also self-distributing. And if you have an enormous Twitter following or YouTube following, or who knows, a lot of young kids have that now. You might just want to self-release, because then you don't have to give the percentage to the distributor. If you have that audience already at your fingertips.
And just to give you kind of like a backstep, you don't have to make a movie to
Yeah.
happen. I think if I now knew what I knew, I don't think I would make something so grandiose and make a feature film, because the movie, for the most part, many people have not seen it. The script, we were able to take the script and send it out to all those managers and agents that he said we kind of emulated people's careers. And we were able to send it out. We had some friends that knew some people someplace. We were able to kind of tag team it with that. And we ended up signing with a big management company solely based on the script. They hadn't seen the film, and they brought us on as talent and as writers. So that think about it that way. They didn't need to see that movie for that to happen. Our script stood alone. And from there, we kind of continued to make content. So it wasn't like the idea of, we made the movie, it sold, now what do you got for me? It was, we were still doing things. So then we created these, we wanted to maybe do something in television, but we're really big believers in show, don't tell, which is why we made the movie.
Yeah,
But
kind of as a generalization, and this is not to like say bad about anybody, but you know, a lot of people need to be shown what they're going to spend their money on. You know what I mean? Especially like big time executives or big time studios. They're not just going to throw $1 million at something that's a complete risk. We are a complete risk. Nobody knows who we are. So it's much easier to be able to be like, look, it works.
So we basically came up with this idea for these shorts, and we wrote these shorts called My Day. You can find them on YouTube. They were made truly in one day, and we came up with the idea, and by the following Tuesday, they were written, shot, edited, and done.
Wow.
So, like, we're moving, you know what I mean? We always kind of say, like, we hope people join the train, but, like, the train has left the station. And that's always going to be the way it is. And we use those 3 shorts, and they're not particularly, like, the most incredibly highly produced things of all time, but they really kind of give you a sense of who we are and the tone that we want to do. And those shorts were sent out and eventually helped us develop a television show.
Yeah.
So, and they were just truly shorts that we made with our own money that we saved up. I was working at a restaurant at the time, and I was teaching kids and working in a program, musical theater program, and Jake was also with babysitting and things like that, and we were able to do that and use that money for there. So,
Yeah.
And we're still making work now. Like,
And-
you know, I mean, we're always going to do that.
And that goes to what we were saying about building a community. It's like I have, you know, DP, you know, camera guy friends. I have sound guy friends. I have assistant director friends. You build this community of people that, you know, when we do ultimately get our show on the air on Fox or whatever, we can hopefully bring those people along with us. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we're just the 2 of us shooting this. We have the entire crew that's behind the scenes that are helping us happen, but that is because we have cultivated these relationships with them, and they've done our movie with us, and they believe in us, and so they want to help us make that short to get to the next step. So
They're incredibly
again,
talented.
you just need to, like, you know, like you said, we're so happy because it's so fun to be doing what we get to be doing. Like when we're on set, like that's the best. So like I think that our crew sees that. Like
Right.
I don't understand the mindset of people who are on set and they're like, well, whatever. It's like,
Right.
okay, nobody wants to work with you. You know what I mean?
Right. So one really interesting thing that just hit me about what you just said is this idea of, you know, creating content that is primarily your artistic expression. It's feeding this need to do something creative, but you found a way to use this, to leverage it in a productive way as well to further your career in a meaningful way. That's a really tough balance. I think some people feel like, well, if I'm thinking about advancing my career, then I'm not really thinking about the creative process, or I'm, you know, maybe I shouldn't be thinking about that because that's just sort of, you know, that's not fun. I want to just think about the creative process. So you found a way to really organically meld those two in an effective way, right? To not just, I mean, maybe to make more contacts, but also to show the world in these contexts that you're still active and that you're doing important things, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that ever ends. I think you
Right.
kind of have to always kind of keep it going.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely a world where Jake and I, within the 24 hours that we're in Ann Arbor, could like make some short on our iPhone. I could see that
Like, we've done
happening
that
truly.
before.
Yeah.
Happening. So that never ends, and I don't think we always have this thought process of like, is this going to advance my career? Is this going to do it?
Right.
That inherently is not how we think.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, do
Yeah.
we like this idea? Do we think it's fun? Do we think it could work? Well, let's do it. Let's write the script.
Yeah, but I think something that we learned at Michigan in particular was like that you should not ever look side to side. You know, like I'm not looking at what Judd Apatow's doing. I'm not looking at what Lena Dunham's
Yeah.
doing. I'm looking at what we're doing and why we're different. And that's why people are going to want to watch what we're doing, because we're doing something unique.
Yes.
We're not trying to do something else. So when we have an idea to do a stupid short about Aaron Tveit and Grease Live, we're going to do that because it's creatively fulfilling to us, but it also is going to advance our career because it is our voice.
Right,
You know what I mean?
it's exactly right. So it's representative of who you are authentically.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's great. Well, I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
So really quickly before we run out of time, so you
Yeah.
mentioned a TV show.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that. It's a more recent project, right?
Yes.
Compared to some of the
Yes.
others. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this was last year actually.
Yeah.
We ended up developing a television show loosely based on our life called Us and Him, and we developed it with Will Gluck, Olive Bridge Entertainment, with Will Gluck and Richie Schwartz, who were there, and we that was with Sony as well, and then we sold that idea to NBC. And so we really got kind of a really first-hand experience of what it's like to write a network television show last year, which was great. And then from the end of that, so just so you know, we deal with highs and lows. We were so excited, and then they didn't end up making that show. That show didn't
Yeah.
go to pilot. You write the script, and then it could go to pilot, and then go to series, and it didn't go to pilot. But now we're back. We're doing a new television show now this year. So there's there's high highs and there's really low lows too. So you kind of have to like wave through it because something you got to keep on creating something because you can't like hitch your wagon to like this is going to be it because that's never going to be it.
Exactly. It's going to be that you had a random meeting about over drinks, and they're going to be like, what about that idea about the leprechauns? And you're like, sure. It's like, because Fox is looking for a leprechaun show. Like, that's how it happens. You know what I mean? And then it turns out that you happen to know that executive at Fox because you used to do a show with her when she was an assistant at Sony. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yes.
all.
And she went to
that.
Michigan.
Exactly.
That's great. Well, it's so great to have you here sharing these stories with us. I mentioned it before, but just to see your positive energy, I can only imagine how that. You talked about being likable, but I think it's being authentically who you are in a positive way is kind of what you've demonstrated in our talk today, and that comes through in your content as well, in your artistic work, which is great. So, and I encourage those checking out to check out your work.
Please.
It's great to have you on campus. Thank you so much for making the time to
Thank
talk with
you.
us and our
Thank you.
students, and we look forward to staying in touch and seeing what you do in the future.
Go Blue.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah. Go
Go
Blue.
Blue.
Thank you.